Hey everyone, Chris here from IELTSadvantage.com with another lesson, and today's lesson is a little bit different because it's a live interactive lesson. One of the great things about having this Jamboard now and doing live feeds on YouTube is we can get your ideas and evaluate your ideas and interact with you. So that's what we're going to do in this lesson. We're going to show you a Task 2 question. We're going to ask you to come up with ideas, and we'll put them up on the board here, and then we'll talk about those ideas and evaluate those ideas and interact with you and help you with that. So if you are watching live, feel free to comment in the live feed, but if you're watching the recorded version of this at a later date, feel free to interact in the comments. Obviously, it won't be live, but the key thing about commenting on one of these lessons is it's not really going to matter if it's live or not. It's the actual action of doing it. Because if you're just sitting back watching a YouTube video about IELTS, you might retain 10% of it. But if you are actually interacting with the lesson and you're commenting and you're doing something, then you're going to retain most of it. So it is for your benefit. I'm not doing it just to ask you for more comments. So, live task 2, idea generation. So what are we going to do in this lesson? So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to give you a little test. All right. So the test is very, very simple. I'm going to give you a Task 2 question and ask you to generate one idea. Just give me one idea. Then I'm going to look at all of the comments that are coming through live, and we'll put them up on the board and we will evaluate them. And we'll talk about which ideas you could use and which ideas you might not want to use and the reasons behind that. Then I'm going to do a demo. So I'm going to take the same question and talk you through how I would think about it. And I'm going to give you a really, really effective technique for idea generation, not brainstorming. All right. I do not encourage any of my students to brainstorm. It's completely useless and will lead to a bunch of irrelevant ideas. And I'm going to also give you a checklist that you can use to evaluate your own ideas, because I won't be with you on test day. And then 3, I'm going to test you again by giving you a question and asking you to learn from the demo and think of new ideas for it. Okay, so let's get going. So here's the question. In many cities, more people are living alone. Why is this the case? Is it a positive or negative development? So it's a double question. It's one Task 2 question, but it has one Task 2 task, but it has 2 questions. All right. For the purposes of this lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to delete this second question, and just focus on the first question. Okay. Just keeping things as simple as possible for the purposes of teaching, for the purposes of this lesson. All right. So what I would like you to do, without any help from me, think about this question and generate one idea. Okay. Oh, you need to, boom. So just give me one idea. All right? So take your time, take 30 seconds, take a minute to think about the question, and then think of one idea. All right? Don't take any more than 30 seconds, because you can overthink these things. All right? So let me have a look at the live comments coming through. Wow, some of you have ideas already. Great. So thank you to Gil, Reha, Alanki, Chahal, Gershran, Nush, Williams. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing any of your names. Nick, Madhvi, Gurang. Excellent. Great. Okay, so keep the ideas coming, and I'm going to put them up on the board here. So, okay, so privacy, many of you are saying this one. I'm not going to say if they're correct or not just yet. Stay away from family. Always good. Freedom. Focus. Okay, good. Excellent. Okay, so we have a number of ideas. All great. Thank you very much for those ideas. What I want you to do now is I deliberately put some ideas on the left-hand side. So let's call these ideas group 1. Okay? So all these ideas here are group 1. And let's call these ideas group 2. Okay? So what I would like you to do now is think about this. One of these groups is correct, and one of these groups is incorrect. All right? It's a little bit more complicated than simply correct or incorrect. So let me put it a different way. One of these groups, it would be quite easy for you to use these ideas in your essay and answer the question quite well. One of these groups, it would be very, very difficult for you to use these ideas in your essay. So what I would like you to do now in the comments, in the live feed, which group is correct and why? All right? Or in other words, which group is not correct and why? All right? Why are some of these ideas good? Why are some of these ideas not so good? And think about them, all right? And think about the question, all right? So let me have a look. And thank you to so many of you for your ideas. It's great to see. Okay. So Madhvi says group 2 is correct. Ifoma says group 1 is correct. Group 2, group 1. Good. So there's pretty much a 50-50 split, which is really good because some of you are getting the correct answer, which is great. But even better, some of you are wrong, so you're going to learn something. If you are wrong, don't worry. That's really good because you're going to learn something today if you are wrong. Most of you are saying group 2 are correct. I'd say 70%. Okay, excellent. All right, so some of you are wrong, and some of you are correct. So let's look at why. So as always, if you want to find out why, go back to the question. So in many cities, more people are living alone. Why is this the case? Okay, so one group is answering the question, another group is answering a completely different question. Okay, so one group is answering the question, why do people move to cities? Okay, people move to cities for better job opportunities, to study, to get better health services or education services or better amenities, better shopping, whatever that is. That is why people move to cities. Is the question asking you, why do people move to cities? No. The question is saying, in many cities, more people are living alone. So the question is asking you, why do people live alone in cities? So let's have a look at these ideas again. People live alone in cities to be more independent, for privacy, to stay away from their family, for freedom, for focus. People do not live alone to get a better job. People do not live alone to go to university. People do not live alone to get better opportunities or better health and education services. These ideas are answering the question, Why do people move to cities? These group of ideas are answering the question, why do people live alone in cities? So why is this a problem? Okay, many of you might be watching this and thinking, these are close enough. They're pretty good. All right, they're not. These are not answering the question, so you're going to go off on a tangent and you're going to be answering, you're failing the most basic thing about writing a task 2 answer. Did you answer the question? Okay, so many of you get really frustrated with the test and email me and say, I did everything correct. I followed your structure and my vocabulary was really good and my grammar was really good and I answered the question correctly and I still got a 6.5. 70% of you watching this video didn't answer the question correctly, okay? And plus there are many other things that you need to do correctly in order to get a 7 or above. So you can see how easily it is to mess this up. But do not worry, if you made that mistake, it's a really good lesson and you can learn from it. So let's look at how I would do this. Okay, so what you need to do first is you need to take time to actually read and understand the question. Think about it this way. What is the examiner actually asking me to do? What do they want me to do with this question? They don't want to, so what many of you did was you just saw the word cities, why, and you thought, why do people live in cities? So you did it too quickly. You need to invest the time, and by time I don't mean 10 minutes or 20 minutes. I mean 1 or 2 minutes. If you're thinking about the question for 1 or 2 minutes, you're thinking about it for 2 minutes longer than 90% of students. Most students will look at the question and immediately just start planning and writing. Make thinking about the question part of your preparation time. It is not a waste of time. It is an investment of time. All right? It's like saying wearing a seatbelt is a waste of time. All right? It does take time, but it's going to save your life. You know, there are things that do take time, but they're quite important. Next, you need to think of an idea. All right? So step 1 is understand the question and then think of an idea. The worst thing you can do is brainstorm. Brainstorming is a complete waste of time. It takes too much time and it leads to irrelevant ideas. We need to think of a way to immediately think of ideas really, really quickly that are relevant, that are specific, that answer the question. So how do we do this? What we do is we'll look at this and instead of thinking this is a task 2 question, this is IELTS, this is really complicated, just simplify it, break it down. Ask yourself one direct question that will lead to the idea that you need. So it's better for me to show you what this looks like, to demonstrate it. So instead of me thinking about it in this way, what I do is receive this information, process it, and think, what is a single question I could ask myself that will lead to a relevant idea? Why are more people living alone in cities? So you see how I did that? I looked at this information, thought about it, asked myself one question. Why are more people living alone in cities? If you ask yourself that question, then there's no way that you're going to think of any of these ideas. You are going to answer with one of these ideas because there's no other options. So you've limited your options and simplified it and made it easy for yourself. And you can apply this philosophy to anything in IELTS. True, false, not given questions, matching headings questions, task 1 academic, writing letters, speaking part 3, speaking part 2. If you just simplify it and break it down and make it easy for yourself, then you can do quite well. If you overcomplicate it, then you're not going to do so well. So this is going to generate ideas. So you might have 1, 2, 3 ideas. Normally when you use this, you'll just think of one idea immediately. But let's say you generate 2 or 3 ideas. And then you need to ask yourself these questions about those ideas. Because what you don't want to do is generate 2 or 3 ideas, just start writing, and then halfway through your first main body paragraph be like, actually, I don't know what I'm doing. These ideas are useless. You want to make this part of the planning process, so you do all the thinking before you start writing. Again, a really good investment of your time. So the first question to ask about an idea does my idea answer the question? So if your idea was moving for better job prospects, no, doesn't answer the question. All right, so scrap that idea. Number 2, does my idea make sense? Okay, so it's really easy way, does it make sense? If it makes 100% sense to you, then it's probably going to make sense to someone else. If you're unsure about it and you haven't really thought about it, if it doesn't make sense to you, it's definitely not going to make sense. It's not logical, and it's not going to make sense for anybody else. So maybe your second idea just doesn't make any sense. So now that you've got a relevant idea that is logical, that makes sense, now you need to ask yourself these final 2 questions, probably the most important questions. Can I explain how this answers the question? And can I support it with an example? Why do we think of these questions? Because you're going to be doing this in the essay. When you're writing your main body paragraph, you're going to have your main idea, then you're going to explain how it answers the question and support it with an example. If you can do those things, then it's a good idea. So, let's say you think of these 2 ideas, okay? So you think about them, you think, yeah, independence, privacy. So this one makes sense, it's logical, I can explain it, but I can't think of any example. Just scrap that one. Privacy, it makes sense, answers the question, I can explain it, and I can think of a good example. This is your one. Move on and just go with that one, okay? And how much easier is your essay going to be to write if you have a bunch of ideas like that, okay? So, now that I've demoed that, what I would like you to do, your task, put it in the comments section of the video. Just answer this question. You can do one of 3 things. Just give me one idea for this, and one idea for this, if you don't have time, all right? Or you could do a plan. You could plan out your answer if you have a little bit more time, or if you've got lots of time, you could just do the whole essay. I can't guarantee that I will be able to give everybody feedback, because there's quite a lot of people subscribed to this channel, but I will go through it later today, and I will comment on some of them. But the most important thing to remember is you're not doing this to get feedback. It would be great if you could. You're doing this to activate what you have learned. Just watching YouTube videos is not going to help you improve your writing. Actually doing something, and this is why we've made this lesson interactive, is going to help you, okay? So, try that out, put it in the comments, and I will have a look at them tonight. We will make another lesson on Friday, and let me know what you think about this style of lesson, these interactive lessons. Rather than me just lecturing you, getting you guys involved and helping you out and interacting with you, let me know what you think about that, and I will make more of them next on Friday. Subscribe if you want to be alerted next time we go live, normally about midday UK time, by 12, 1 o'clock, something like that. Hope you enjoyed that. If you need me, you can comment, or you can send me an email, chris@IELTSadvantage.com. Thank you very much, guys. Hope you enjoyed that lesson. Let me know what you think about it. If you hated it, let me know. If you liked it, do you have any suggestions for further lessons? It's always great to hear from you. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Bye-bye.